Sairam to all of you. Having seen certain properties of D and F block elements, majorly studying regarding the 3D series, now we will study some important compounds that are associated with this study of D block elements. Whenever we study any chapters in this particular year, we always will concentrate on one or two important compounds in that particular assessment. And today we will be looking at one of those important components of this D block elements, which is potassium dichromate. But before that, let us see the answers for the questions that were offered in the previous assignment, so that we analyze all those answers by ourselves. So, the first question there was give an example of an alloy. There are many examples of alloys that we see. We have brass, we have bronze, many such examples, and you can put up any one example among those. The second question, which 3D element has highest oxidation state? Now, this is something that is more of a theoretical question, but how do we analyze which will have the highest oxidation state? That will depend on the configurations of those particular elements. For example, Mn has a configuration of 3d5 4s2. So, what does it mean is we are able to remove of around 2 electrons here and 7 electrons in this cases. Till manganese, the maximum oxidation state will be the number of electrons that are present in 3d and 4s. After manganese, it will depend on the stable oxidation states of those compounds. For example, iron will have just +2 and +3. So, the maximum oxidation state can be seen in the case of manganese. So, moving forward now to the third question, calculate the magnetic moment of a divalent ion. Now, what do we mean by divalent ion? That ion which has +2 charge in it, and they have asked it for the divalent ion when its atomic number is 25. Now, how do we solve this question? Let us see. We have the formula mu is equal to root of n into n plus 2. Mu is nothing but the magnetic property of that compound, n is the number of unpaired electrons present in it. Now, when we say atomic number 25, the element, the configuration is going to be 3d5 4s2, and they have told that it is a divalent ion. What do we mean by a divalent ion? 2 electrons will be removed, which is basically having a +2 charge. Now, this is nothing but the configuration for manganese. When I consider a divalent ion, I am going to remove 2 electrons from 4s. Now, how do I write this 3d electrons? We know very well that D has 5 orbitals, and each orbital will have 1 electron. So, these 5 electrons are all unpaired, and therefore, the value of n becomes 5. So, when we undertake this calculation, it will be root of 5 into 5 plus 2, which will be nothing but 5 into 7 root 35, and that is the final answer that you have, 5.92 bm. Bm is the unit Bohr magneton. This is how the calculation takes place, and similar type of examples may be asked to you in the examination. The last question, what are interstitial compounds? We have already explained that these are the compounds which are made up of these D block elements, but because they have spaces in between them, small atoms like hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, which are generally available in the Earth's atmosphere, will go and occupy those small spaces that are present in these compounds. So, this is all about the earlier segments that we have discussed, and now let us get back to today's topic, which is the study of potassium dichromate. So, what is this potassium dichromate? We see this potassium dichromate as an oxidizing agent in many reactions industrially and for research purposes. Now, the first thing that we have to know is what is an oxidizing agent. So, to study that, let us take this compound as an example. So, what are certain important aspects of this potassium dichromate? We can see that it is a very important chemical that has been used in the leather industry. We have come across a process called as tanning. Tanning is a process where this leather preparation is made, and this potassium dichromate is used there mainly in this leather industry. It is prepared from an ore called as chromite ore. Generally fusion of this chromite ore happens with a base like sodium carbonate, and we also use air for this. So how do we undertake this preparation? Let us see now. So in this case, this is a 3-step reaction. So what is happening in the first step of this reaction? We are taking a chromite ore which is FeCr2O4. It's been reacted with a base like sodium carbonate, and oxygen gas is treated for that reaction. In these reactions, we tend to get the products which is the sodium chromate salt which is formed, along with the byproducts like iron oxide and carbon dioxide as a byproduct which is seen. So in this case now this happens to be the basic elemental factors of this, where this is the chromite ore that we have taken at the start, treats with sodium carbonate salt solution with oxygen gas. We need to balance this entire chemical reaction for these cases. So how do we tend to undertake these balancing reactions? So we can see that if this is the reactant side and if this is the product side. So first, to satisfy the sodium number of atoms, it is same on either sides, whereas chromium there is a difference. So let me take it as 2Cr. But the problem is, the moment I settle this, there is a disturbance that is seen in the sodium side also. Also iron, there is a difference. So because it is Fe2, let me take this also as 2Fe. So in this trial and error segments, we get to see that there are many changes that we have to undertake for balancing of these reactions. So in this overall balancing setup, we see that once this chromium also gets disturbed here because of writing 2Fe, now here this becomes in total 4 chromium. So once again I need to change this to be 4 Na2CrO4. So what all are balanced now? 2 iron, 2 iron. Sodium is now not balanced. If you see here, this has gone up to 8 now, whereas here it is only 2. So this, when I try to balance, this is going to be 4 Na2CO3. So now we are left with the components of carbon and oxygen. You can see here carbon 4, so that is why this has to be 4 CO2. Similarly, now count up the oxygens which are there. 4 2s are 8 oxygens here. Here there are in total 12 oxygens, so 20 and another 2, this is 22. But come this side here, this is 16, 19 and another 8, which has gone up to 27 now. So how do we take up this balancing processes? This is completely taken now from this stage over a trial and error method to see to it that the complete balancing of this reaction happens. Now in this case, the iron oxide parts which are there, when this has to be balanced, we have to look at balancing this segment, because this is present as an extremely open system with just oxygen present in it, whereas all other people are mixed with other components which are there. So when we look at these type of balancing, when we take up, so for here it is totaling to 12 and 8, which is 20, but since this is coming to 27 here, and because we cannot have odd number balancing, so I will rather take it as 7O2 in this case. So this setup will give us 14 and another 12, 26, and then another 8, which is coming to 34, whereas here now it is now balancing to 16, whereas here it is just taking up to 19 and then another 7, which is 27. So this entire setup for a final balancing process will give us the entire balanced chemical equation in this condition. So what else is to be balanced now? If you see the main reaction now, we see in that step 1 that in that step 1 condition, we observe that the minor change that we have to take up now is the overall balancing that we see, where since if we double certain components in this cases, the total balancing can be seen. So if you see here in this case, if this is coming to 4, this is coming to 8, similarly 8 and then 2 and then 8. This trial and error method system will give us a complete balancing of this part. So, the important point from preparation point of view is obtaining the sodium chromate salt, which is solid in nature, but it is mixed in a solution. So, generally when you have a solid in a solution, what do? We undertake a filtration process. So, in that filtration we try to get away the sodium chromate salt and then we utilize this for the second step. So, what is the second step now? So, if you see in this reaction here, the second step is nothing but treatment of sodium chromate salt, which was your main component in your first step, and that is treated with H plus. Now, what do we mean by H plus? H plus indicates any acid compound which is under consideration. Now, remember in this case that H plus is offered by many people like sulfuric acid, also nitric acid, hydrochloric acid. All these people tend to offer sulfuric acid, nitric acid, hydrochloric acid. They offer H plus. But the problem here is nitric acid will give in this system as an oxidizing also, because there is oxygen present in that which is quite reactive. So, for this sort of reaction, the H plus production is mainly by the sulfuric acid which has been taken. So, in the reaction you may tend to write it as H plus, but in actual process we use the sulfuric acid where we are acidifying the entire medium which is present. So, what is happening in this entire case now? If you see, there is 2 chromium atoms available here. So, let me take this as 2Na2CrO4. In that condition, the overall sodium content on either sides is satisfied, which is 4. You also see that the hydrogen is 2 on either sides, sulfates on one side. Just to check out regarding the oxygen, the sulfates already have the oxygen, the rest of the oxygen is coming to 8 and that has been balanced here. So, what has happened in this place is there is acidification of sodium chromate to obtain sodium dichromate. But what we want here is potassium dichromate. So, how do we obtain this potassium dichromate? When we see the third step now, where this sodium dichromate Na2Cr2O7, this substance when we treat it with a compound like KCl salt, because KCl is ionic in nature, very easily it can dissociate. So, therefore, you will get potassium dichromate with sodium chloride salt as the byproduct in this case. So, what do we understand in this entire system now is that this potassium chloride, which was ionic in nature, very easily offered potassium ions, and finally you could get the potassium dichromate crystals which are required. So, this is one of the important oxidizing agent that has been present in us. So, let us look at its structures. How are the structures that are been present here? We see a chromate ion, we also see a dichromate ion. Remember that in the first step, the product that you had obtained was sodium chromate. So, what was the formula of sodium chromate? It was Na2CrO4. So, when you split this ionically, you will see that it will split up as 2Na plus CrO4 2 minus. This is how we tend to write the formulas in this case. So, what is the role of the sodium is just that it is a counter ion. What is the role of a counter ion? This is our main ion, and because it is an anion, to stabilize it into a salt, it needs a cation. A combination of cation and anion forms it a salt. So, the main ion that is required here is the chromate ion, and let us also see the structure of the dichromate ion which is there. Now, the chromate ion is a single tetrahedral structure where chromium is the central metal ion, oxygen atoms happen to be the sort of a ligand donating systems, whereas in the dichromate ion it is more of a bridge like structure where the chromium oxygen chromium angle is at around 126 degrees. So, that is not tetrahedral. The dichromate ion is more like a bridge structure where the potassium systems which are there K plus, that will, the 2 potassium ions will stabilize this entire content which has been present. So, seeing these structures, we can now analyze the various uses of these potassium dichromate compound for our day to day uses. Now, I have been telling that this is a very good oxidizing agent. So let us now come to that exact point as to what is an oxidizing agent, what is its role. So once we remember what is reduction, what is oxidation, reduction is gain of electrons, oxidation is losing of electrons. So when in an oxidation process, if somebody wants to lose electrons, there has to be somebody who takes it also, because we know the nature law of conservation, that nothing can be created nor anything can be destroyed. So if somebody is leaving away electrons, somebody is losing electrons, there should be other person to accept it, and the role of potassium dichromate is the same. So let us see its certain uses that are being present here. You are able to see many reactions in these cases. Let us take each of these reactions individually. Let us take the first reaction now. There is an electrode potential offered which is given at 1.33 volts. This is the voltage for that reaction to happen. So what has happened in this entire reaction? Let us see. First, at the start, the potassium dichromate ion is taken, and that is getting converted into chromium ion of +3. The question is, what is the charge of chromium in potassium dichromate? So that let us see here separately, Cr2O7, and it is said that the charge on this is 2-. So how do we calculate the chromium oxidation state? This was also studied in the first year redox reactions chapter. So let me consider the chromium charge as X, because I don't know this, plus oxygen, 7 oxygens are there, and we know very well that the charge on oxygen is -2. And what is the overall charge of this compound? It is -2. It is not a neutral compound. It is an anionic compound, therefore the overall charge is -2. So 2x minus 14 is equal to -2. 2x is equal to -2 plus 14, simple mathematical process. 2x is equal to 12 and x is equal to +6. So coming back to the reaction now, we know that the charge on the chromium in dichromate is +6. So what is happening in that reaction there is, chromium charge is coming from +6 to +3. What do you mean by that? Earlier it was in short of 6 electrons. In the product it is now in Cr +3 state, which means that in the product it is short of 3 electrons, which essentially means that it has gained the electron. From whom did it gain? It gained in oxidizing the other compounds that are being present in this case. So for this understanding, let me take the very first example that you are able to see there for the sake of explanation, which is conversion of the iodide ion, this ion which is there, to iodine compound which has been present here. Let us see what are the oxidation states in this case now. The oxidation state of iodine here is -1, whereas we know very well that any compound in its elemental form or stable molecular form will have oxidation state equal to 0. This is a known fact for us. So what has happened here? There is a loss of 1 electron. -1 indicates 1 excess, 0 indicates it is as usual stable. So during the process what has happened is 1 electron is lost. Now because we took 6 ions and in total there are 6 iodine here, for 1 iodine it was 1 electron, for 6 it is in total 6 electrons now. The moment it loses 6 electrons, who is going to take those 6 electrons, who is going to run this reaction is nothing but compounds like Cr2O7 2-. So what is this? This is nothing but the potassium dichromate, where the dichromate ion is the one acting as oxidizing agent. So what does this do now? This takes the 6 electrons left out by the earlier reaction which was there. And what does it form? It tends to form Cr3 plus, and we know that since there are 2 chromium atoms here, we can take it up as 2 Cr3 plus which is present. Now what has happened overall here is that these systems, it has changed from +6 state to +3 state, that was for 1 chromium atom, but because 2 chromium atoms are there, it changes into 2 Cr3 plus. So how do we balance this entire reaction now? We know very well, in the once again you have to apply the first year oxidation state concept here. Let us take what is there on the left hand side, 6I minus plus Cr2O7 2 minus. this 6 electrons, they get cancelled because they are same on either sides, giving rise to 3I2 plus 2Cr3 plus. This is the final reaction that we get from these two reactions. The role of this is oxidizing agent, whereas here it is the overall reaction which is taking place. Now the question is, once you get this, you need to balance these parts. And since it is an acidic medium, we know that from the redox reaction chapter, the left side is balanced by H plus, right side is balanced by H2O. So how many oxygens are here extra? 7 oxygens, and therefore that has to be balanced here. So we are going to balance this 7 oxygens by 7 H2O. Now in writing this 7 H2O, the problem now is that this 7 H2O has brought in 14 hydrogens into picture. So therefore I am going to take it as 14H plus. Just for verification, check out the entire reaction if it is balanced or not. 6 iodine, chromium in total 2. Similarly here the charges are different because that is where the loss of electron has happened. 14 hydrogens and the 7 oxygens in this case. This is how this potassium dichromate can act as an oxidizing agent. Let us see some more examples that are present there. One such example of iron is what I have shown at the end of the slide there below in the down part. Similarly, you can also try writing these reactions for the hydrogen sulfide which is given and the stannous to stannic ion conversions which are being present there. So these are some usage of these compounds which are being present in this case. So what else are the other uses? How do they act in acid medium and basic medium? Let us see those parts now. So in the acidic medium, in these cases, so we have in the acid medium cases, we see that this potassium dichromate is able to have conversion by utilizing hydrogen ion in their cases. So what is the hydrogen ion that is happening in those parts? The hydrogen ion is here acting in the acid medium systems where it takes H plus. Please remember that potassium dichromate will be stable in acidic mediums, will need not necessarily be stable in basic mediums. So for basic mediums we have other compounds. So this is all about the study of the potassium dichromate which has been present for us. Thank you. Sai Ram.